Hey guys, so over the past few days now, there has been a lot of talk back and forth with the whole Pip Squeaks situation. I really didn't intend for it to blow up as big as it did, but I figured I'd make a video kind of better explaining the position and what's kind of going on and the steps I'm going to take after this. So basically, to sum up what happened, Alyssa goes into Pipsqueks to get feeders because she was in that area and it was close to pet shop, and so she goes in and she asks to get feeders, frozen thawed, because that's not what we normally get. Anyway, she goes in and they say, well, normally we wouldn't give this to you unless you call ahead, but they decided to be gracious and took her to the back to pick out the rats and that she was going to feed. And so she was kind of not really sure what was going on, because that's not normally what we get when we go get frozen. They're either pre in bags, or if it's a local pet shop we go to, Gator City, they are frozen in the bags, but they put them down with CO2 and then freeze them. So they're already dead. They just get picked up, however many we need, and that's it. We don't go in and pick the live ones that we are going to kill. And then what she didn't know is that he then puts them in a vacuum seal bag alive, like just in the vacuum seal bag, like you would put crickets in a bag, and puts the amount needed and then puts them through the vacuum seal process. So sucks all the air out of the vacuum seal bags while the rats are still alive. They weren't stunned, they were just put in there alive and vacuum sealed. And then they were put on the counter to be paid for while the rats were still moving around. They were still alive, still gasping for air. That is the summary of what happened here. So basically, they euthanize animals, sick or, this has been admitted through Facebook posts. I'll have screenshots and everything so that you can see what I'm talking about, that I'm not just talking out of my ass with this. But they have openly admitted to this is how they kill a lot of their smaller animals. Sometimes they claim only the feeders, other times they claim bigger stuff too, like hamsters and stuff that's just sick. So anyway, basically they use vacuum seal bags to kill their feeders and other animals too. The problem with this is it's not basically I've seen a lot of people say that it's the same thing as feeding it to your snake. Snakes do it, naturally they squeeze the life out of the animal. It's not entirely true. Recent studies will show, and I'll put links in the description and everything too. The recent studies have shown that it's not actually the animal being squeezed and lack of oxygen that's killing it. It is lack of blood flow, which would in turn, it kills them a lot quicker than we should expect, and in a different way. Lack of oxygen leads to suffocation, gasping, until you run out of breath. The lack of blood flow stops blood flow to the important organs and just shuts everything down a lot quicker. Is it as humane as it can be? No. That's why I personally feed pre-frozen animals to my snakes as much as possible. Some snakes won't accept it. I have a coach whip right now who will only eat brown anoles or lizards. It's just sometimes that's how it works. But if I can avoid it and avoid the unnecessary suffering, that's what I'm going to do. Growing up, the pet stores would smack the rats against the wall in a bag and kill them real quick. That is not, I don't believe that is an acceptable method, although it is quick, and if it's done right, it's done in a second. But if it's not done right, it can cause serious harm to the rats and suffering that doesn't need to happen. That's why I'm not a big fan of that method, although if that's what you do, it's definitely not the worst method out there. But snapping their necks or smacking them against a rock real quick, as I said, not preferred, but it is something that has to be done sometimes. the best method, the quickest method, and the least painless method, and the only method that is endorsed by, I honestly don't remember, but basically the most widely accepted method is CO2. And the reason that CO2 is widely accepted is that, one, it doesn't poison the animal, technically speaking. Like, you're not giving it something that's just going to kill it because, it shuts down. CO2 puts them into sleep. They don't know what's happening. They just go to sleep and die. And it's painless, and it's not suffocating. They are not gasping for air. They just fall asleep. And so that's the difference between sucking the air out of a bag, and they're in a vacuum, and they can't get anything in, then they die from suffocation. It's cruel. And the fact that they do this, anyone who is a respectable animal owner and a respectable animal lover and understands that sometimes you have to put something down. I'm for hunting. I've killed animals before, hunting, fishing. It's not something that I take lightly, though, and as an ambassador for the animals and conservation, you got to do things the most humane ways you possibly can, and not enjoy the suffering or take part in the suffering of the animal on purpose. It's cruel. And I get it, there's a lot of old school views on this. I probably have more of an old school view on a lot of it than most of y'all do, but I still understand the need to end unnecessary suffering. And so, besides the fact that, snakes can get injured if you feed them live, that's the main reason why I do frozen thawed, is because, I might not like rats personally, but it doesn't mean that they deserve to suffer. You might not like somebody, but it doesn't mean they deserve to die. It's the same sort of thing. And if something does deserve to die, you don't prolong its misery. So that's basically where everything stands. I'm going to be putting in a some sort of complaint or a report to whoever I need to report it to, FWC, or I honestly not exactly sure whose jurisdiction this is, but that will be happening. And again, I really hope that the people at Pipsqueks, if they see this, know that it's not you guys personally. At least I'm not going after you because of that. It's because this is not an isolated incident, and y'all don't really seem that, you defend it, and it's something that's not okay. And it's something that if outside people see this kind of stuff that don't understand the hobby, they're going to think a ton more people who do love animals are like this. And it's also showing places like the state of Florida that, well, damn, even a pet store can't even not be cruel to an animal. You're potentially making it a lot worse for us. I had a conversation with the owner at one point in there, months and months back, when the first time iguanas and tegus were being banned. And I had a good conversation with him. I never had a problem. But then I look at it now and I'm like, if that's the same guy that was, condoning this kind of stuff, and I want to be on your side for the way you were speaking about the bans on the animals, but then if you're treating them like this, and, pictures of sulcatas with, malformed shells, whether or not they were from you or not, leopard geckos that they're, granted, most people overfeed their leopard geckos, but like, these were malnourished. Like, these are on your Facebook page. Like, you're proud of it. Like, if you're going to post animals and you're proud to, be selling these animals, you got to take care of them. How many times does somebody have to go into your store and say that it smells like animal piss before you actually do something about it? And then something like this happens. And it just shows me that there are some people who shouldn't be in the sphere of owning slash giving other people animals. It's just something that can't be acceptable. So anyway, thank you guys for spreading this. Thank you for all the support. I seriously hope that something can be done about this, and I hope that people seeing this will understand that when people who love animals see other people mistreating animals, even if we're on this, you know, I might own a lot of animals that a lot of people will never want to own. It doesn't matter. The point is that the animals themselves matter just as much as people matter, but we as people have a responsibility to make sure that these animals are taken care of when they're in our care, and if they're going to be used for something like food, we still don't hurt them purposefully. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and hope you all have a good rest of your day.